Today I came across a whole load of leaks that may or may not be coming to Shatterline at some point, and today I figured I'd talk about them. So before we get to showing this, I have to clarify one thing first. Some of these contents I will show you guys might never actually get released to Shatterline, and a lot of it might face a whole lot of changes before full release. But either way, let's get to these leaks. We've got a lot to unpack here. Starting off, there's a couple of emote leaks. These are being classified as win poses, which if you've been paying attention to the customized tab, this shouldn't really come as a surprise, as we see options for both win poses as well as taunts, which means Shatterline will have yet another way of monetizing by selling emotes such as interesting taunts and win poses, and personally that's a win in my book. That means people will likely spend money on these types of cosmetics, which will help further fund the developing of Shatterline. We don't really get to see these win poses in action, but I'm sure they'll be coming up soon. Next up, let's see what we've got in store for PvE. For PvE, there are leaks such as co-op missions as well as bosses. So let's take a look at those. Starting off with co-op missions. For co-op missions, there are two possibly new upcoming missions. One is called the Stormbringer, and the other mission is called the Hephaestus. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but either way, that's what we'll go with. We have no gameplay or any idea of what these maps themselves look like, but these are maps that personally I have heard their name being tossed around quite often. So it really would not surprise me if we got these missions anytime soon, especially following the announcements made by the dev team recently addressing that they're going to be focusing hard on PvE these next few updates. Also for PvE, we've got a leak for the Colossus boss. If you're a PvE fan, then you've heard the Colossus name be tossed around quite often in conversations made by Matthew Sullivan and Dr. Karen. And here in the background, you see the gameplay against this new Colossus boss. And let me tell you, he looks like an absolute menace. He's got multiple different mechanics all going on at once, such as strafer shields, laser beams, rocket attacks, and a railgun, and he can spawn strafer ships, and man, it looks so much tougher to beat it than the Queen and the Behemoth. I'm really excited to go up against one of these. They seem like they will be quite the challenge, and I feel like that's something we definitely need more of in PvE. Jumping over to PvP, we've got some screenshots for a few maps that are either in development or were scrapped midway through. We've got Lost Fortress looking pretty early in its build, but this screenshot was taken in December, so that's 5 to 6 months ago already, so this could have easily been scrapped or upgraded by a lot. Also on the same note, we've got a map labeled as Project 01, same story as Lost Fortress, but we've also got the Glacier, which is looking a bit more complete in comparison with the other two maps, as well as Promenade, which also looks pretty polished in my opinion. Honestly, I do feel like PvP maps is something we're desperately in need of, so some of these snapshots easily excite me for PvP, but yeah, that's all I've got as far as PvP maps go. Next up, we've got this manual for game mode called Citadel. As you can see here in the screen, I know it's hard to read, so I'll zoom in each part for you guys to take a look for yourself. This game mode is an attacking and defending type game mode, which reminds me a little bit of Capture the Flag, except instead of both teams trying to capture each other's flag, only one of them attacks while the other one defends. Honestly, sounds like a pretty fun concept to me, but I won't waste too much of my breath on it, because I have some bad news for you guys. If this game mode excites you, then well, don't let it. There has been words from some pretty trusty sources that this mode will not be going forward, so if this were something that interests you, then I am sorry. But best you can do is express your interest for this game mode in the Shatterline's official Discord. However, don't be too sad, because I'm feeling confident about the release of this following game mode, although my confidence doesn't mean anything in regards to it releasing or not. This game mode, I am not exactly sure whether it is a PvE game mode or a PvP or a PvPvE mode. This mode is called Gridlock, and the information we have for this game mode is that we take a pickaxe and we have to try to get to the very end of the map, eliminating strafers along the way, and from what has been found out, there seems to be a couple of different levels. Could this just be a fun game mode along the lines of Barricade, or will this work in a roguelike manner? We do not know, but I am excited to hear more about this. Next up, let's take a look at two different utility weapons. One is the Barricade gun, which I won't fuss too much about, as it just sounds like your normal Barricade weapon that's been designed specifically for Barricade mode, and there is the Healing Ray gun. Now this one intrigues me. Could this be designed for PvP or PvE? We don't know yet, but if I had to take a shot in the dark, this will probably be used for more niche game modes, just like the Barricade is for the Barricade mode. Perhaps it's used for game modes such as the Gridlock we just now covered, or who knows, maybe it could actually become a secondary weapon for PvP. I do wonder how that would play out. Next up, we've got a bunch of character skins. Some of these have already been released. None of them particularly stand out as something that really interests me, but it's still cool to see. Even though their heads are removed from these models, you can still kind of tell who it belongs to, and personally, the one that interests me the most is this Orbit skin right here. This one looks sick. And speaking about skins, we've also got a couple of weapon modification skins. So for these, we don't know what each modification actually does. However, we do have quite a few that we do know what it does, which we'll go over here in just a second. But back to these, some of these look absolutely sick, and I can't wait to find out what they actually end up doing. Because we all know just the looks of the modification doesn't quite make it a good weapon. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. New modifications and their actual descriptions. So starting off with the pacifier, we've got the pacifier Shatterline, which increases damage by 10% beyond its effective range. Now this mod doesn't even come close to the Crusader, so even if this ever got released, it would probably be underused. Now going further down the tier 1 list, we've got the Earl Mural, which increases hip fire by 10%. And yet again, it'd be a modification that easily loses to its legendary counterpart, so not much hype there. Further down the tier 1 list, we've got the Draken Renaissance, which gives 15% faster sprint to fire transition and 5% extra ADS speed, which probably would be a pick for me for the Draken's mod, but also nothing too crazy. Moving over to the tier 2s, for the Zenith, we've got the Zenith Renaissance. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, which improves reload speed by 7%, which will probably be better than the Deep Space, as the Deep Space mod doesn't impact precision damage by that much. But I think this would come down to each player, and if you enjoy the Dragon Fury, then this mod probably won't replace it. Next up for the tier 2 shotguns, we've got the Tribal, which reads, scoring enough kills activates self-revive, and precision kills bear a greater value. Now this sounds insane depending how fast that self-revive works. If it revives you automatically super fast, this will probably be extremely overpowered. But if the revive is something that takes, say, a few seconds to do so, then this will definitely always be a good mod, but I could not see it necessarily being too overpowered. Still, insane to see. For the tier 2 SMG, the M5, we've got the Angry Cloud, which increases weapon selection speed by 13%, which is a huge pass for me. But to make up for that mod, we've also got the M5 Joker, which sends ammo to chamber directly from backpack for a short duration after a kill, which again is a bit vague and we're not exactly sure how it works. If you basically get all your ammo back during this time window, this will be extremely strong. However, we're not exactly sure if that's how that would work, so we'll have to find out. Now moving over to tier 3s, we've got the Pylum Short Circuit, which adds 4 bullets to the magazine, and that is an absolute hard pass. Possibly even worse than that one Dragonfly mod that just gives us 1 extra bullet. As the Pylum already holds over 40 shots, we definitely don't need 4 more. Moving over to the Lopara, we've got the Mythica, which reads, one of the 3 gifts is randomly granted upon kill. Gift of Healing, Gift of Ammo, or Gift of Swift Reloading. And although we don't have the specifics, I can already tell this is an insane upgrade to the mod we have now, and will be a 100% use rate for anyone that has it. It just sounds godlike. Now down to the M2 shotgun, we've got the Tactical Cosmos, which reads, sliding enhances slug rounds, greatly increasing firing range and decrease pellet spread. And yeah, if this comes out, get ready to get pissed off by sliding shotgun. Moving over to the SMG, however, for fire spray, we've got the Wyvern, which on reload restores health based on the number of enemies killed from previous magazine. And that just sounds like an absolute beast. Orbit mains are gonna have a field day running around and regenerating with the 1.4 second reload you can actually get out of this weapon. Just imagine how overpowered that would look like. And going into the tier 4s, we've got the Conciliator Pharaoh, which gains a limited amount of freezing ammo after scoring a kill, which sounds like it'll make a lot of people mad for being frozen. But yeah, I'd probably use this mod over the 7% RPM one. I'm not exactly sure. This weapon's pretty bad right now. The G7 Springer also gets one, called the Primordial, which when you kill a player with a precision shot, that player can no longer be revived. And I don't know, but that actually kind of sounds like a cool mechanic. Down the list, for our King Centurion, we've gotten the Graffiti, which increases damage by 10%. And yeah, no comments on that. I don't think the best weapon in the game really needs a 10% damage boost, but who knows, maybe it'll come along with a nerf to the base weapon as well. Either way, this would be a hard pick from me. Lastly, from the tier 4s, we've got the Dragonfly Marble, which returns 1 bullet to the clip if a whole burst hits a target. Meh. still only mediocre mods for this weapon in my opinion. And moving over to the last tier, tier 5. The Legatus gets the Diver, which reads, ammo from the bottom half of the magazine deals bonus damage. And that sounds insane. And it sounds like a hard pick from me as well. And now further down to one of the most controversial weapons in the game is the Brute, which we've actually got 2 leaked mods. The Brute Renaissance, which improves its accuracy by 10%, which is not such a big deal. And the Brute Witness, which when aiming down sights, crystallizes the ammo in your chamber. And enemies killed with these ammo spawn crystalline sprouts upon death. And regardless of the area of these crystalline sprouts, this mod would make so many people mad to go up against. And lastly, to close off for the tier 5, we've got the Reaper Renaissance. Okay, that pronunciation just got worse as the video went on, but whatever, I'm not even gonna repeat that. Which increases movement speed by 15% when aiming, which is not huge, and I'm not sure it would replace what we've got so far. Oh, and by the way, we've also seen a Ghost Impact modification, but sadly, there's no description for this one, so we're not sure what it would actually do. So this video is already going on for longer than I wanted, so I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you next time. Much love.